Hi, Sydney.
That's mine. Good day.
Yeah, I guess we have to give everybody else a chance to get in. I guess they're running late.
That's fine.
So we'll just give them a moment to join, okay?
No problem.
Okay, thank you.
No.
Hi guys. Monique, how are you today?
I'm doing well. And yourself?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I was just trying to give your colleagues a few minutes to join. It seems like most of them are running late, but I mean it is being recorded, so I don't know if you and Sid want me to continue. We can do that. Just let me know.
Uh,
Or we want to give them another 5 minutes, or
yeah, we could give them another 5 minutes.
okay, we'll give them another 5 minutes. Okay, great.
Okay. Okay.
Hi, good evening, Glenton. We're just giving everybody a few minutes to join. We only have two persons on, so we want to make sure the class is effective. Are you having a good day, Clinton?
Yes, I am.
Okay,
Hi.
good, good. Are you sorry?
No, I was saying good evening to everyone.
Oh, okay, okay. Yes, are you prepared to read chapter 9 for us today?
Chapter 9. Yes,
Sorry?
yes, that's no problem.
Oh, okay, good, good. And right, because yeah, we discussed it last week. Okay, so did you have an opportunity to peruse it, or it's a
Ac-
very good read and there's a lot of good information in it about leadership.
Oh, actually, I did not get a chance. It was very upset. I didn't get a chance to peruse it. I intended
Okay,
to today and got caught up.
okay, so just look at, whilst we wait for everybody, just look at um the front page where it gives you some definitions, and then
Okay.
it goes on to tell you the outcomes. So we
Okay.
want to just make sure that we cover the definition and the outcome. So I'll just call on you, but it's a lot of reading. And so if you
Mhm.
get frustrated halfway through, just let me know and I'll
Okay.
select somebody to help you read, okay?
Okay, no problem.
Okay, great.
Chapter 9.
Yeah, so there are some key concepts and then the chapter outcome, and they should be just before page 218, I think. Okay, guys, good evening all. We'll start now. It's 10 minutes after it's being recorded. So we were just giving everybody an opportunity to join. I know it's difficult to work and go to school and fight that traffic, especially when it's raining, to try to get home on time. So hopefully persons will catch the recording. I would have sent homework if we look at our agenda. we're scheduled for homework this week. I sent an email with the homework. Did everybody receive it?
That's fine.
Okay, good, good. Just making sure. Okay, if somebody didn't receive the homework, please let me know, and it's due next week, Tuesday. And again, it'll just cover the definitions of chapter 1 and then the definitions out of chapter 9. So it's really just the multiple choice part of it. You will see those questions again on the midterm. So it's good practice to make sure that you grasp those definitions out of these 2 chapters. So we covered chapter 1 last week, and then it was a lot of information. We had a very good discussions, and then person said that let's just leave chapter 9 for this week because they wanted to just peruse it again, digest some of what we said. And so I'm wondering, can anybody give me a takeaway when you read for the most part last week? So now that you've had a week to digest what we discussed, what would be a takeaway from last week's class? Is Monique there?
Yes, ma'am, I am here.
Okay, very good.
My takeaway from chapter 1, I mean, it was basically telling us or giving us an understanding of the different types of management in an organization, starting from bottom all the way up to top management. The most important part to me that stick was the part that we read about if we wanted to be a supervisor. And I think that was pretty important. That question was pretty important after reading all of that information.
Right. And again, don't feel pressured to make a decision right up front. The class will still be relevant whether you're a supervisor or not. But like I keep saying, it comes with grace, and it comes with compassion. It's not an easy job. Being a people manager is very tough. So hopefully by the end of this class, you will decide that just leave me in the background, or I can definitely handle it. Now, I was always front office and customer service. And so I was all excited. I was like, of course I can be a people manager. And like I said, the worst experience of my entire career. And I was there for 16 years. So the absolute worst. In total, I've been in the banking for 25 years. And now I'm in compliance. And so that should tell you how far away from supervising I have moved. And so I always ask, am I a people's manager? I can deal with 1 assistant, and that's it. I can't deal with 10. So it's just if you have the grace for it. Okay, but I do agree that at some point in your career, just for training purposes, you should supervise. It's a kind of, go through the motion. It will definitely help you, I guess, have empathy for the supervisors, and it creates awareness. So it's good training ground. Okay, so very good. Vineet, thank you for sharing that with us. So we're now going to go on to chapter 9, leadership, and let me just take a look at the agenda to make sure that we don't miss anything. The speech due date is October the 12th. Now, next, I would have sent homework. Sid confirmed that he received it, so I am hoping everybody else received it. The due date for that is next week.
I
Tuesday.
didn't receive it, Miss Bullard.
You did?
When did you send it?
I sent it just before the start of class.
Oh, let me check it.
Right, yours bounced back again, but I guess I still pick up the wrong email. 1 second, let me send it again.
Okay.
Is H-I-E-L-D or H-E-I-L-D?
H-I-E-L-D.
Okay, that's the, okay, I'm sending it again now to you. Okay, just confirm that you received it.
Okay, one moment.
Okay. Yeah, so the speeches, and everybody has their question, will be due on the Tuesday before, is it the Tuesday? Let me just make sure I'm giving you the right information.
I received it, Ms. Fuller.
Okay, great. Yeah, so on Wednesday, on Tuesday, October the 11th, the speech will be due by to my email, and then you'll have to present in class. So remember, you'll have to turn on your camera and make this presentation to the class. Okay, so make sure your face beat and you look good, and so Ms. Bullet and the rest of the class could be impressed, and you're gonna get a grade for that. So please prepare for that. It's only 2 weeks away. Okay, so please, I know there's a holiday coming up and I don't want to ruin your holiday, so just plan ahead. And it's only 300 to 500 words. It shouldn't be more than 2 pages, so it shouldn't be that tedious. Okay, so homework next week and speech and presentation in 2 weeks. Any questions about the homework or the presentation, or are we good and clear on what is required? No, we good? Okay. Y'all respond back to me so Ms. Bullet knows that y'all, understand. Okay, so today, of course, chapter 9, again, is about leadership, just like the speech, and you should be able to take some of the tips from chapter 9 on leading followers. We will discuss virtual leadership, supervisors appointed by organizations, charisma, different styles of leadership. There are 6 traits of effective leadership. Did anybody have the opportunity to read and have a takeaway or the discussion already from the chapter? Or do I just need to go through the motion? Robert, Sid, Vanique? Y'all there?
I didn't get to go through it because I think I left class early last week.
Okay.
That's all.
All right. Remember now, this is an interactive class. So each week the requirement is that you read and then we have a discussion. Now the book is a very good book in terms of the stories and the way it's laid out. It's an easy read, but I don't want to get caught up each week in just reading. Okay, so we have Glinton assigned to this week, and each week we will have somebody assigned, but we don't want to get so caught up. You should have already read the stories and come with your questions. Nevertheless, we are going to go through, leadership. We're going to talk about, we're going to start off with responding to a supervisory dilemma, where they talk about Google and Mark Zuckerberg. Then they're going to discuss whether leaders are born or made. What do we think? Are leaders born or are they made? Sid?
I feel like leaders are made.
Leaders are made. Sorry, Sid, go ahead.
I feel like they are made as well. I mean,
okay,
yeah.
Okay, so nobody thinks that they are born. Okay, and then the 6 traits. Are we familiar with any of these traits? The drive, the desire to influence others, honesty and moral character, self-confidence, intelligence, relevance. Are we familiar with any of those traits? Do we possess any of those leadership traits? Sid, what would you say?
That's all.
You do? Which trait do you possess? All of them, or drive or desire to? Do you have that desire to influence others?
I do, and especially drive as well.
Okay, very good. And so then we're going to discuss the different types of leaders. There are charismatic leaders, visionary leaders, um, autocratic leaders, there's very people-centered leaders, caste-centered leaders, all sorts of different types of leaders. And so it we once we get through the reading, we will find that persons don't only possess one of those characteristics. There's normally a combination of leadership styles that very influential persons possess. Then we are going to move on to effective leadership, and then credibility and trust. And the book asks you, does credibility and trust matter? Robert, what is your take on credibility and trust? Does it matter at work, or those things for home? What about you, Candace? I'm not getting a response from Robert. Candace, does credibility and trust matter?
Yes, ma'am, I think so. Because I think in the workplace, you want to feel comfortable enough to know that you can trust somebody, or to know that you can vouch for somebody
Okay.
in the workplace.
Okay, so yes, it is very important. Okay, and what about playing favorites, Clinton? What is your, there's cliques. You have to be a part of a certain clique to get things done, or if you're not in the clique, you don't get promoted, or you definitely, don't know what's going on in the institution. What is your take on the cliques in corporate Bahamas today? Are they toxic, or are they support groups?
I think in some instances, it can be a support group. However, creating silos within organizations leads to discord in some areas.
Okay, very good, very good. Okay, all right, so that will be most of the chapter that we will cover, and we will then have some discussions based on getting to know yourself, and then again, the practicing the skill, of building trust and being credible. Okay, just to give you some tips. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to start at the beginning. There is a supervisory dilemma at the top of page. Let's see what page this is, so we could all be abreast and up to date on what this book is saying. Some very good stuff. Responding to a supervisory dilemma on page 240. Clinton, can you start for us? How do you lead people who are physically separated from you and whom your interactions are primarily written, digital communications? And of course, during the pandemic, for the most part, working from home was taboo. In Canada and different parts of the world, mothers get off at 3 p.m. because school gets out at 3 p.m. So for the most part, there was work flexibility in Canada. I think doing in the Netherlands, once you have a baby, you're given 1 year off. So 365 days worth of paid leave to rear that child yourself, right? And so for the first time, we would have seen during the pandemic that we were forced to work from home. Okay, and so we are supposed to be a forward-moving country. However, we went right back after the pandemic to going in person, and I don't know if it was a preference or if it's because of our culture. I'm not certain why it happened, but it seemed that persons prefer to be in the workplace. Now, a lot of people say because we can't deal with the noisy children all day, we're not babysitters, we can't deal with home is not happy, so we rather be at work. But we definitely have to get to a place, technology is the new way of the world, it's a new norm. And so many companies found that their operational costs decreased drastically, and it's actually cheaper to let persons work from home. And so you saw companies like Google, like we discussed, paying for proper ergonomics, which is the proper desk, the proper computer, a proper chair, and the armrest, so you don't get carpal tunnel syndrome in your arm. And so we're gonna read this dilemma about digital communications and working from home, because it seems like it's like gone straight back to taboo. Like most people still prefer to go into the office, and I'm surprised because I love flexibility. I love being able to be in another country and teach or do my work from home, and so um a lot of the older people I saw were against it. They didn't trust the computers, and then the younger people supported. So, and I think we asked that question in the very first class. Are you against it or do you support it? So there are some people who was for it and some who are against it. So let's just read Clinton, the supervisory dilemma.
You mean responding to supervisory dilemma?
Yes.
Okay. How do you lead people who are physically separated from you and with whom your interactions are primarily written digital communications? That's the challenge of being a virtual leader. Leadership research has been directed mostly at a face-to-face and verbal situations, but we can't ignore the reality that today's supervisors and their employees are increasingly being linked by technology rather than by geographic proximity. So, what guidance would be helpful to leaders who must inspire and motivate dispersed employees? It's easy to soften harsh words in a face-to-face communication with nonverbal action. A smile or a comforting gesture can go a long way in lessening the blow behind strong words like disappointed, unsatisfactory, inadequate, or below expectations. That nonverbal component doesn't exist in online interactions. The structure of words in a digital communication also has the power to motivate or demotivate the receiver. A supervisor who inadvertently sends a message in short phrases or in all caps may get a different response than if the message had been sent in full sentences using appropriate punctuation. To be an effective virtual leader, supervisors must recognize that they have choices in the words and structure of their digital communications. They also need to develop the skill of reading between the lines in the messages they receive. It's important to try and decipher the emotional content of a message as well as the written content. Also, virtual leaders need to think carefully about what actions they want their digital messages to initiate. Be clear about what's expected and follow up on messages. For an increasing number of supervisors, good interpersonal skills may include the ability to communicate support and leadership through digital communication and to read emotions in other messages. In this new world of communication, writing skills are likely to become an extension of interpersonal skills. So, what do you think? What challenges does a virtual leader face? How can virtual supervisors use technology to help them be more effective leaders? What should be more important to a virtual leader, focusing on the task or focusing on the people? Would you want to be a virtual leader or would you prefer to supervise face to face?
Okay. And Clinton, can you answer that for us? Because we were like pushed into like I say, online. There was no choice because the country was shut down. What was the experience for you?
Well, me personally, I did not like the virtual, the home-based working from home.
Okay.
I prefer to be in office just based on I felt like more of my time was spent behind and with my family because it's 9 to 5, but you end up running over the time, and then I don't want to cheat the employer's time, so I'm like stuck to my computer, and then people don't respect your time, so they think they could text you or send messages or ask you to do things outside of office hours as well.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, your issue is more of a discipline issue then.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much from yourself, but from, I know, the children.
All
Once
around.
the children see you, your husband or your family see you at home, they think that you could stop and go cook, or you could stop and pick somebody up. I totally understand.
Yeah.
100%. Okay. So during my experience, I received a email in red and all caps, right? And this went to myself, the chairman of the board, the CEO, and two other persons. And so all of us, we were kind of taken aback. This email was addressed to me, and I said, automatically it came across as an attitude or something was wrong or like a very disrespectful tone. And so, I said, you know what, let me just close this computer down today and not read this and definitely not respond because, I don't want to retaliate. Luckily, the chairman, and this was like about 2 pages long. The chairman interjected and he said to the person who wrote the email, please recall this email, and for future reference, don't ever send an email in caps and don't ever send an email in red writing. And like I said, the content wasn't so bad, but right up front, he asked her to recall it and not, ever do that again. Sydney, why do you think he did that?
I think it was more so to kind of make sure that both persons feel as though the situation is, handled mutually, where it isn't that you feel like someone is picking on you and then you wouldn't retaliate to the situation based on their approach.
Correct. Okay, so be very careful of your email language and when you are angry, because when I'm angry, I write an email, the worst things in the world, and I have to delete the entire email. So please don't write an email when you're angry. Definitely don't ever use caps. Definitely don't ever use red writing. Always be diplomatic in all your responses. And like I say, if you have to respond, just say I'll respond momentarily. If you're angry, walk away and come back. And I promise you, that will create better words. And you don't want to get into, that's proof, evidence. You're giving them evidence to decipher what you were saying. And therefore, like I said, please try your best, not when you're angry, to be diplomatic in all responses. And even if you have to move online from in office, and again, Clinton said, I didn't like it. And it was not the fact that the work was harder, it was the fact that, people just didn't respect her time. And so many persons felt that, this doesn't work for me. So Clinton, how did you handle the persons that it worked for? The persons that could manage their time at home, that was able to work in, because a lot of times I found that we voted and for where the persons were to come in or where the persons were to work online. And you had the same person that always voting that, okay, it's safe for us to come back in the office, you'll all come in. So the persons who were against coming in, did you advocate to say, I don't care what they do, but I need to come in? Or did you push? Because we did have some people pushing that everybody must come in and this is the only way it could work and this is the only way my work could be done.
Well, I mean, from my work's perspective, everybody kind of, there wasn't ever an auction. I mean, they did rotation. So if you work 2 weeks in, then the next person worked 2 weeks out. And then there were times when persons would switch with others and for I guess, special reasons. So it was never really a pushback for those who wanted to work from home versus those who preferred to work in office.
Okay, so very good. And again, later on, we're gonna read another dilemma, a supervisory dilemma, where we talk about various cultures. Okay, and sometimes, some things will work for you and some things will not work for you, but it will work for others. What the message is I'm trying to convey is, do not instill what won't work for you on others, or do not push, because we have a lot of people coming up with all sorts of strange things, and it's impossible for me to do my job because Miss Bullett's team isn't in, and this and that and next thing, and we need them here, and we are background and we are compliance. Nobody comes to our office. Y'all send us emails anyway. You don't have to sit in the office for us to receive an email. So it was a lot of back and forth. So just be cognizant that persons, we don't live in perfect. We have a very diverse, and Royal Bank is a very diverse company, and so therefore you will never have everybody. You know, if you have a group of 7 or 10, you have 7 or 10 personalities, and so you want to ensure that the entire team is comfortable with the decision that is made. Most of the time, it's majority rules, right? However, if you can accommodate 1 or 2, just to make them comfortable, because when people are comfortable, when they don't have to worry about rushing to pick their children up from school, when they don't have to worry about fighting traffic to get home, when they don't have to worry about rushing around to get to work, you get the best out of them. Okay, when persons are comfortable. So with working with a diverse team, you want to ensure that everybody is comfortable. And since we're talking about diversity, I will just pick up the important bits from that supervisory dilemma. And it talks about national culture could affect your leadership style. And that's on page 229. Okay, and the parts about it I want to bring to your attention. It says national culture affects leadership by way of your employees. You cannot choose your leadership style at will. Rather, you are constrained by cultural conditions your employees come to expect. For example, an autocratic leadership style is more compatible with cultures where power is unequal, such as those found in Arab, Far Eastern, and Latin countries. This cultural power ranking should be a good indicator of employees' willingness to accept participative leadership. Participation is likely to be the most effective in cultures where power is more equally distributed, such as those in Norway, Finland, Denmark, and Sweden. It's important to remember that most leadership theories were developed by North American researchers using North American subjects. Okay? So the general concept is that you will have different types of people, and so therefore leadership styles, like I say, you may have to have a combination of leadership styles. And again, an example is when I was a telesupervisor, we had a 7-day Adventist person, and he had to leave at 4 o'clock on Fridays. And so, of course, this posed a problem on government paid days. And so here it is on government paid days. It was seen to be discrimination if I did not let him start to close down at 3 p.m., balance him, close him out so that he could leave at 4 o'clock. And so that presented an issue, for the rest of the tellers. They said, oh, Ms. Bullitt, so I need to say it's my religion, or I need to do this, and this is not fair, and it's so much work, and nobody else could leave. But again, you cannot discriminate because of religion. So after that, we worked with him for almost a year. We asked for somebody, a temporary teller to help us on Fridays and help us on government pay days, because he simply couldn't be there. But of course, they said, make it work. We can't just hire a part-time person just for, that's extra cost. So, we encouraged him to go, job posts for a background position, because of course, the teller lineup would not be suitable for him. Another instance that I had was I had a Muslim, and he was required to pray 6 times a day. And so, I tried to ask him, I said, okay, this is different. Ms. Bullitt isn't used to, I've never had a Muslim before. Can you pray? Can I, during your lunch hour, can you do your 6 prayers during your lunch hour? And he said, no, he has to do them periodically through the day. And so, again, for religious beliefs, we had to accommodate him. Okay, so I don't know, have any of you experienced any other religious groups where I'm sure some of you may even be Seventh-day Adventists. Have any of you had that experience? Rodney, Sydney, Renee, Lanique?
We have a 7-day Adventist teller with us now. She had to be transferred from the branch she was to because the branch she was to was a Saturday branch, and our branch isn't. So
Okay, but they just accommodated him. So what about Fridays? Do they let him leave at 4 o'clock on Fridays as well?
I've never seen her leave 4 o'clock on Fridays.
But she definitely
she's
isn't there
off.
until sundown, right?
No, she isn't.
Okay, but see, that's just it. We had to let, because sometimes you're not balanced. And so he can't just leave the money, you know what I mean? You can't
Yeah.
just lock away the money if you have a difference.
Yeah.
You
That's
see what I mean?
difficult.
And so, right. Okay, so again, and this, again, to create awareness, what would you do? What would you do?
What would I do?
Yeah, what would you do? How would you accommodate this person who has to leave before sundown on Friday when the line out the door and it's government payday?
I would have to respect that. I mean, I don't see what much can be done about it. I would just have to lean on my strong tellers.
Okay. But you can see how they will begin to say, well, they say, Miss Bullet, no more 7-day Adventists. I say, but that's discrimination. And then definitely the Muslim who I am talking about every 15 minutes, it seemed like he brought these towels into the kitchen. So every time you went into the kitchen, he was in there praying. And I don't know if some of y'all, we was finna go Key West Street and Robinson Road, some of the conversations that they have in the kitchen during lunchtime. So at different points, persons were in there and they was like, Miss Bullet, and these were the senior people. You'll have to do something with this boy. Just be in there talking about what happened on what's the movie? What is a very popular thing that people watch on TV? They talking about one of those movies, and he in there praying. Okay, so what would you do with that, Lanique? Because I know you supervise. How would you handle that without discriminating? Anybody there? Anybody? Y'all have to talk back to me. This can't work like this.
He couldn't go somewhere else to do his prayer.
Where?
He had to do it in the kitchen.
But where else? Like where else is there's nowhere else?
His car. Somewhere else. He could find a private space that he could go in to pray. Did it have to be the kitchen?
But that's where it was. I mean, that was like the only staff common area. And so, persons started to complain, but again, we could not discriminate. And head office almost weekly reminded me that please be compassionate and be aware of what you say and don't make jokes and ensure that the staff are properly trained to not comment. And we must find a way to accommodate. Okay, so I'm just saying this to you, if you have this experience, don't just see these people as an annoyance, okay, because they are different from you. Okay, you have to be trained enough in your verbiage and your demeanor to ensure that they are not ostracized because of their religion. Okay. Another very touchy situation that's coming up today. We have had, and I've seen how the bank tends to get rid of males who appear to be flamboyant and females who appear to be, what do you call it, butch? Okay, what did we do in those instances? One of my tellers showed up to work with eyelashes and lipstick. Okay, another time, we sent a young lady home because her skirt was too short and it was too tight. We sent her home. 2 weeks later, she said his pants was too tight, and it was indeed too tight. And she said we discriminated against her, and we made her go home and change. Why are we not making him go home and change? Okay. And I said, but I just give me a moment to deal with that. And before I even had a moment, she went to the manager, and the manager was in my office. Miss Bullard, what are you going to do? That pants is too tight. You have to send him home. Okay. Are we having those experiences at work?
I've never heard of anything like that before, but I feel like the RBCs and Scotia Banks, I feel like they are more diverse though.
Okay, but if yeah, you are the supervisor and your male teller shows up in lipstick and eyelashes, what are you gonna do?
Well, in all honesty, now, like she
Well,
would have said, Scotiabank is a more diverse culture. So if you choose to come in lipstick, if it isn't against policy, if it isn't anything in policy indicating that the person can't wear lipstick, there isn't anything that we can do. We just have to be open to, I guess, the person, beliefs, and how they feel about themselves.
Okay, and I agree, Robert. And so make sure that you have the awareness and that you're not surprised. And again, like I said, head office gave us special training on diversity, to be careful of your comments and your demeanor. Lanique, go ahead.
sorry about that, Miss Bullet. I was driving and trying to get home. But
Okay.
I had a situation at work, and it speaks to how, as being a supervisor, I guess in training, you have to know the policy. That's what I had a rude awakening about that today. So I said that to say, if I had a teller who came in, who was a guy who came in with lashes and whatever, I would pull the policy, which speaks to how a gentleman should be groomed. And even though I would be careful with my words, because me personally, I wouldn't want to offend him. I would have to bring it to his attention that when he decided that he was going to work here or assigned to work here, he agreed to adhere to the policy, and it states blatantly in our policy, it does state that a guy cannot wear fingernail polish and this and that and the next thing. So I would bring that to his attention and just allow the policy to work as it should work,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Okay, so very good that you have a detailed policy where they have that written, and before you sign on or before you are onboarded as a new employee, you know that that's the bank stance, right? And so you shouldn't want to work there, but the bank has to be very careful of what they put in policy and to make sure it does not, it is the law. Okay. And like I say, Royal Bank is a very, very diverse company. I do not think they would say that men cannot wear fingernail polish or eyelashes, because we even have, because in Canada they have a coming out day that they celebrate. Okay. And so last week we spoke on vision, missions, goals, and I would hope that all of you would have gone to your office and found out your vision, your mission, your goals, the strategies, and then you see what the company's beliefs are. And in Canada, like I say, they are very heavy on diversity and acceptance. Okay. And so if you have a phobia with that, then do not work for the Royal Bank of Canada, or don't work for any institution. You have to work for Bethel and Co. Lanique if you have an issue with that. Okay. Remember, when you are at work, it's their agenda, it's their values, it's their goals. Okay. And so, like I say, as a supervisor, you know, whether I agreed with it or not, it didn't come into play. I was there to enforce the handbook of Royal Bank. Okay. But I just want y'all to have the awareness as supervisors to be sensitive a lot of persons are different. Um, just in this last week, there was a circulation on Facebook where two young ladies got sent home from school because they decided to cut their hair and it looked like a butch haircut, or what, masculine women would wear. Okay. And so everything cannot be written in policy. And some policies, it may be absent. Okay. You don't want persons to feel like you are discriminating and then they could possibly sue the company. Okay. So before you go and say, well, you're a man, you shouldn't do this, or I feel this or that way about it, please make sure that you are representing what the company states. Okay. Be careful of the eyes, be careful of the body language, and don't be in these positions if you cannot, do not work for a diverse company if you cannot accept their diversification. Okay. So just a tip so you are aware. Okay. So very good. So back to Clinton, we wanna read, go on with our reading, understanding, and like I said, it's a lot of reading out of this chapter because it's really good and it's really detailed. So we're gonna read for the next 2 pages, and so let me know if you want some help. Will anybody else volunteer to help Clinton read? Because most persons did not read, so we can't have a discussion, but you don't know about.
I'll help her.
Okay, Candace, great, thank you. So Clinton, just say Candace when you're ready for the switch over. So let's
Before
go
we
through.
start, y'all can tell me what page we on, please.
We are on page 241, Understanding Leadership.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Clinton, go ahead.
Leadership is the ability you demonstrate when you influence others to act in a particular way. Through direction, encouragement, sensitivity, consideration, and support, you inspire your followers to accept challenges and achieve goals that may be viewed as difficult to achieve. As a leader, you help followers develop a sense of personal and professional accomplishment. Being a leader means building a commitment to goal attainment among those being led, as well as a strong desire for them to continue following. You may think of leaders as individuals who are in charge of others. These would include you as an authority over your employees, your boss, and anyone else who holds a position of power over you, such as your professor in this class. Obviously, through a variety of actions, you and others have the ability to influence, yet leadership frequently goes beyond formal positions. In fact, sometimes this person of power isn't around, yet leadership may still exist. The words leader and supervisor are frequently used to mean the same thing, but they do not. Those who supervise others are appointed by the organization. They have legitimate power that allows them to reward and punish their employees. Their ability to influence employees is based on the formal authority inherent in their positions. In contrast, leaders may either be appointed or emerge from within a group. Leaders can influence others to perform beyond the actions dictated by formal authority. Because no one yet has been able to demonstrate through research or logical argument that leadership ability is a hindrance to those who supervise, we can state that anyone who supervises employees should ideally be a leader. However, not all leaders necessarily have the capabilities in other supervisory functions, and thus not all should have formal authority. Therefore, when we refer to a leader in this chapter, we are talking about anyone who can influence others. Are leaders born or made? Ask the average person on the street what comes to mind when they think of leadership. You're likely to get a list of qualities such as intelligence, charm, decisiveness, enthusiasm, strength, bravery, integrity, and self-confidence. The responses that we get in essence represent leadership traits. The search for traits or characteristics that separate leaders from non-leaders dominated early research efforts in the study of leadership. It is possible to isolate one or more traits in an individuals who are generally acknowledged to be able to influence others, such as Nikki Haley, Ken Chenault, Irene Rosenfeld, Mark Zuckerberg, Indra Nooya, and Guinea Rometty that non-leaders do not possess. You may agree that these individuals meet the fundamental definition of a leader, but they have completely different characteristics. If the concept of leadership traits is to prove valid, there must be identifiable characteristics that all leaders are born with. What are the traits of a successful leader? Research efforts at isolating specific leadership traits resulted in a number of dead ends. Attempts failed to identify a set of traits that would help differentiate leaders from followers and effective leaders from ineffective leaders. Perhaps it was a bit optimistic to believe that a set of consistent and uniquely personality traits could apply across the board to effective leaders in widely diverse organizations. Attempts to identify traits consistently associated with those who are successful in influencing others have been more promising. For example, 6 traits on which leaders are seen to differ from non-leaders are drive, the desire to influence others, honesty and moral characteristics, and moral character, self-confidence, intelligence, and relevant knowledge. A person's drive reflects their desire to exert a high level of effort to complete a task. This type of individual often has a strong need to achieve and excel in what they do. Ambitious, this leader demonstrates high energy levels and their endless persistence in all activities. Furthermore, a person who has a drive frequently shows a willingness to take initiative. Leaders have a clear desire to influence others. Often, this desire to lead is a view as a willingness to accept responsibility for a variety of tasks. A leader also builds trusting relationship with those they influence by being truthful and by showing a high consistency between spoken words and actions. In other words, people are more apt to be influenced by someone whom they view as exhibiting honesty and moral character. A person who leads also shows self-confidence to convince others of the correctness of goals and decisions. Employees prefer to be influenced by individuals who are free of self-doubt, and they are influenced more by a supervisor who has a strong belief as opposed to one who frequently waffles on decisions made. Influencing others requires a level of intelligence too. To influence others successfully, one needs to be able to gather, synthesize, and interpret a lot of information. One must also be able to create a vision, a plan, communicate it in such a way that others understand it, solve problems, and make good decisions. Many of these intellectual abilities come from education and experience. Finally, an effective leader has a high degree of relevant knowledge about the department and the unit's employees. This in-depth knowledge helps the supervisor make well-informed decisions and understands the implications those decisions have on others in the department. What is this thing called charisma? What do people like Jimmy Fallon, Andrew Luck, Suze Orman, and Oprah Winfrey have in common? They all have something in their personality construct called charisma. Each of these individuals are what we call a charismatic leader. That is an enthusiastic, self-confident leader whose personality and actions influence people to behave in certain ways. Charisma is a magnetism that inspires followers to go the extra mile, to reach goals that are perceived as difficult or unpopular. Being charismatic, however, is not attributed to a single factor. Instead, it too evolves from one's possession of several characteristics. Several authors have attempted to identify personal characteristics of the charismatic leader. The most comprehensive analysis identified 5 such characteristics. They have a vision, the ability to articulate the vision, the willingness to take risks to achieve that vision, sensitivity to both environmental constraints and followers' needs, and behaviors that are out of the ordinary. There's an increasing body of evidence that shows impressive correlations between charismatic leaders and high performance and satisfaction among followers. If charisma is desirable, can people learn to be charismatic leaders, or are charismatic leaders born with their qualities? Although some experts still think that charisma can be learned, most believe that individuals can be trained to exhibit charismatic behaviors. Researchers have succeeded in teaching undergraduate students to be charismatic by teaching them to articulate a far-reaching goal, communicate high-performance expectations, exhibit confidence in the ability of subordinates to meet those expectations, and empathize with the need for their subordinates. They learn to project a powerful, confident, and dynamic presence, and they practice using a captivating and engaging voice tone. The researchers also trained the student leaders to use charismatic nonverbal behaviors, including leaning toward the follower when communicating, maintaining direct eye contact, and having a relaxed posture and animated facial expressions. In groups with these trained charismatic leaders, members had higher task performance, higher task adjustment, and better adjustment to the leader. And the group that did the group and to the group then the group members who worked in groups led by non-charismatic leaders. In chapter 8, we introduced the personality dimension called self-monitoring, and we described how self-monitors as individuals who can easily adjust their behavior to different situations. They can read verbal and non-verbal social cues and alert their behavior accordingly. This ability to be a good actor has been found to be associated with charismatic leadership. Because high self monitors can accurately read a situation, understand the feelings of employees, and then exhibit behaviors that match employees' expectations, they tend to emerge as effective and charismatic supervisors. One last thing about charismatic leadership is that it may not always be necessary to achieve high levels of employee performance. It may be most appropriate when the follower's task has an ideological purpose or when the environment involves a high degree of stress and uncertainty. This may explain why, when charismatic leaders surface, it's more likely to be in politics, religion, or wartime, or when a business firm is starting up or facing a survival crisis. For example, Martin Luther King Jr. used his charisma to bring about social equality through nonviolent means, and Steve Jobs achieved unwavering loyalty and commitment from Apple's technical staff in the early 1980s by articulating a vision of personal computers that would dramatically change the way people lived. What can be said about the charismatic leader? What can be said about the charismatic leader's effect on their followers? There is increasing support for the idea of a strong link between charismatic leadership and high performance and satisfaction among followers. People working for charismatic leaders are motivated to exert extra work effort, and because they like their leader, express greater satisfaction. Although one study found that charismatic CEOs had no impact on subsequent organizational performance, charisma is still believed to be a desirable leadership quality. Although traits of successful leaders have been identified over the years, these traits alone are not adequate for entirely explaining leadership effectiveness. The problem with focusing solely on traits is that it ignores the skills leaders must have, as well as the behaviors that they must demonstrate in a number of situations. Fortunately, these latter two skills and behaviors can both be learned. Therefore, it's more correct to say that leaders are made.
Okay, so
What
we were right. Thank you, Clinton. We were right. Most of you, I think it was Sydney as well as Candace, said that leaders are made, not definitely born. Okay, and so of course we are the future leaders, and so we want to ensure that we possess these traits. Do we have that drive? Do we have that desire to influence others? Are we honest? And really, people take honesty so lightly. The truth hurts, and so most persons avoid it. We are not comfortable with hard conversations. We are not comfortable with tough love, and so a lot of people, and most of the time when you're honest, people reject the honesty. They say that you are hateful, you just don't like them. And so honesty has been a very remedial area, but has been very difficult to achieve. Has anybody else found that trait very, very difficult to achieve, especially in the corporate world? Robert, Candace, Lanique?
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't know how to handle honesty.
Okay, so what do we do? I mean, do we just go around appeasing persons? Do we not have those hard conversations? What do we turn a blind eye? What do we do?
I think having hard conversations is something that is unavoidable in your career. So you have to face it. I mean, and in the best way you can. You have to try to, like you say, be mindful of your words. But at the same time, you have a job to do. So, you know, you have to get the message across, if that makes sense. But I don't think there's any way to avoid it in your career. I think at some point you're gonna have to have a hard conversations because, you know, you would have been on the receiving end of some of these hard conversations at some point. So
Right.
you just have to
Right.
look at it as that.
Right. And so my advice is always to be compassionate, you know, and say if it was me, how would I want to be treated? What worked for me over the years was the sandwich approach. The top bread is compliments. Lanique, you're awesome. You participate in every class. Um, you're very educated. You're an asset to this class, and I'm happy that you're here to keep it going. However, you did not meet your targets for this month, and I'm going to have to put you on probation. But I'm encouraged, and I know you can do it, and this goal is definitely achievable. And I'm going to work with you, Lanique, to make sure that you do indeed achieve those goals and you get off this probation. Okay?
Miss Bullet, that was so good.
Yeah, but that's what you do. Bread
But
to the top.
where were you? Where were you today when I needed you? I
Okay.
didn't know how to write. Well, we didn't. I had to write like a coaching session with one of my staff, and I had to write comments. And I was so lost because I didn't want to, you know, I didn't want to just bash her, as
Right.
well as I didn't want to paint, as well as what she did required bashing, if that makes sense.
Right. Right. I understand. Yeah. You have to be tough.
So, gee, I wish I had
But
known with that sandwich thing today.
You have to be tough, but you don't have to be cruel. Right?
Yes,
You're not
ma'am.
familiar with the sandwich approach?
No, ma'am.
Yeah,
don't
so
know about that.
compliments to the top, and for as long as possible. 2 seconds of this is what you did wrong. I need you to correct this immediately. Back to the but I'm willing to work with you and blah blah blah. So always sandwich. Whenever you're doing reviews, sandwich. Start
Okay.
off. Lanique is an excellent member. She has done this, blah blah blah. And bad in the middle, good at the end. Okay?
Okay.
And always leave them feeling that you care and that there's a solution. Okay, and if there's no solution, girl, we could brainstorm, Lanique, and we could come up with a way for you to meet these totals. But by end of year, you can meet them.
Okay.
Okay.
Because it's like my upper people, well, you know, the people, you know, my boss, them.
Mhm.
Every time I send my comment, they was like, no, Lanique, do this over. No, Lanique, send this back. You can't say that. I was like, what y'all, I say,
Yeah,
is there
sandwich.
a manual?
Sandwich.
Like, what do I have to write?
Yeah, sandwich, and then read it to yourself and say, if my boss said this to me, how would I take this? Because you know, we overthink things and then we read between the lines. This was she really mean, but she didn't know how to say it. You know, and so that person is going to say the same thing about you. Okay, so those are the two things: sandwich, and would I want somebody to say this to me? Would I want this to be their tone? Would I want them to look at me this way? You know, all of that,
Okay.
you question yourself. And like I say, you were there to do a job, and sometimes it's going to be tough and difficult. You can still be compassionate and get the message across, and you don't ever have to be cruel.
Okay, no,
Okay. Okay,
yes,
good.
ma'am.
And honest. So high moral character. Across compliance, because I also teach the compliance program in the ICA books. There's chapters and chapters on integrity and ethics. Okay, because you know, corporate America is and corporate Bahamas is so toxic that we now have to teach persons what they should learn at home. You know, and so persons are showing up and they are very toxic. Okay, so please ensure that you maintain with your mother teacher, and hopefully it was good, and you know how to be honest and how to treat people, okay? And you know, not to be a coward and turn a blind eye when something is wrong. Okay, you must be confident. You will not always make the right decision. You will not know it all, and don't be cocky and you know, arrogant and say, you know, yes, I know it all. Even if you're wrong, you know, wrong. People are afraid to apologize and say, sorry, I misstepped, you know, forgive me. People are afraid to apologize. So be confident, but you know, there's a borderline of being arrogant. Intelligence and relevant to knowledge. If you don't, you know, I tell my other class this. I was looking in the newspaper jobs the other day, and they said they wanted somebody who got their degree in the last 5 years, right? And so we don't want those degrees from 1999. Okay, that's old school now, where you were taught to be the boss. Okay, we want people who are coaches and mentors and trainers and who understand that whenever there's a team, there are high, medium, and low performers. We don't live in perfect. You will never have a perfect team with everybody meeting the goals. That just does not happen. That's unrealistic. Okay. And so on government paydays, we had 10 tellers. Everybody, you know, were encouraged. You know, persons worked through their lunch hour. They took 15 minutes to eat. And we had these two persons who always said, well, Miss Bullet, I don't care what day it is and how long the bank line is. I need my hour. I can't take that 15 minutes. So I need my lunch break. And at first, you know, everybody on the line, you know, in meetings, they said, but you're not a team player. You know, they're pushing, trying to get the bank line out. You sitting down eating, how, and you taking your full lunch hour. If you, with 15 minutes insufficient, you can't take half an hour. And so they was like, no, they need their full hour. And persons thought that, you know, they were keeping back the team or they were the weakest link. So, you know, we tried to figure out a way, you know, stop being angry. Everybody has value. Everybody is good at something. And so what happened was I used to go out and purchase the lunch for everybody because they were working their lunch hours. So the bank supplied lunch and everybody would run in for the 15 minutes. And what I realized, and, you know, I used to hate going to Bamboo Shack and stand up on that line. And, you know, that was another hour trying to get those orders and bringing that back to the bank. And so in my one-on-one meeting with this person, I said, you know, this is what makes me angry, that I have to go out and stand on Bamboo Shack line, whatever. And she was like, oh, I could go and do that. And so Miss Bullet didn't have the patience to do it, but she did it. And so now, instead of everybody being mad, she was the person who went to Bamboo Shack. And what I did is I got cash and I went on the teller lineup and I stayed the whole day and I took the 15 minutes to eat by Bamboo Shack and I went back on the line. Okay, because we were all a team. We worked together. We had one goal. Okay, and so she had the patience to go to Bamboo Shack. And that Bamboo Shack was very important because we danced on the teller lineup all day. Okay, so find the value. If you have a team, high, medium, and low performers, find what that person is good at. And if they just good at getting the Bamboo Shack, do not devalue that person because everybody have to eat. Correct? Go ahead, Lani.
Okay, what if all of your persons are, okay, what if who should be your strongest is in the lower, right? And the newer persons, they're still training. So how do you not offend the one who should be like next in line? With like, you understand, like by giving her something,
right?
I guess.
There's no next in line, Lani. There's no next in line. There are interpersonal skills, conceptual skills. What else did the book say? Let's go back to chapter 1. No, you've been here the longest. No,
you know what I mean though.
Yeah, but I know what you mean, but that we gotta get that out of our thinking because we go on with these old ideologies trying to train millennials, and you will only get push back. The ability to demonstrate a system and sequence of behavior that is functionally related to attaining a performance goal. That's what a skill is, right? You cannot be promoted because you've been there the longest. You have to have interpersonal skills. People management is not for everybody. You have to have conceptual skills. You have to have the political competence. It's the competencies. Okay? You have to know how to deal with people. It's not for everybody. Okay? And so if she is up for promotion, she has to go to be promoted to the back line. I mean, the back office. There's no use you train her because she don't know how to deal with people. She will make those people life hell. Okay? So give up on her and find her something in the back office and send her the cross training and don't waste no more time. Pay attention to the person. No, for real, who can be honest. Remember, this is why we're here. Who have that drive? Who have the ability to influence people? When I realized that, like I said, I was good at customer service, and I thought, well, of course, I would be a great telesupervisor until I dealt with 10 personalities, and I said, oh, no way. The bank became divided. People hated me and people loved me. And so, when I found that my love lies in the back office, let me go to back. I in compliance. From customer service, I in compliance. That's the furthest back office you could get. Right? So look for the traits. Okay? And then remember, we are saying, are they made? Are they born? Right? And so they say the latter two skills and behaviors can be learned, which is irrelevant knowledge and intelligence because you can go to school. Correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the personality test. And when we get to the end of this chapter, it says review. Let me just look, where is it? Getting to know yourself. Before you can effectively supervise others, you must understand your present strengths and areas in need of development. To assist in this learning process, we encourage you to complete the following self-assessments. And you can go right online to the Prentice Hall self-assessment library. There are various tests. And you can even share these tests with your department. And so you will get some information about them. Some companies like Atlantis, they give you a 45-page personality test. Do you like this? Do you like that? And then they keep it in HR. Encourage, if your institution does a personality test, give that to you. And so look at who these people are. Okay. But if you go online and do the personality test, find out what is your leadership style. Find out, do others see you as trusting? How willing are you to delegate? How charismatic are you? And do you trust others? Okay. And that's getting to know yourself. And you can look at that on page 261 at the top. Okay. And it tells you how to get online to the Prentice Hall self-assessment. Okay. So yeah, no more you next in line. Have those skills, have those competencies. And that's how you know who is the next person. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. So we talked about charismatic leaders. We talked about visionary leadership, the ability to create and articulate a realistic, credible, attractive vision of the future that grows out of and improves on the present. Okay, but I want to just backtrack back to a charismatic leader. It mentioned that we are writing our vision, mission, and goals. Okay, and so as a supervisor, have you gotten the overall vision, mission, and goals of your company and discussed it in depth with the department? After you discuss that in depth, are you then writing your vision, mission, and goals for the department? Okay, what do you want to achieve as the department, what are some of the issues? What is your strategy? And that's where you start, because without no vision, you perish, right? And so make sure that that you do that on the department level. You know, right now you may only have it on the company level, okay? And you will find that, you know, you recite it and people become committed to it. Working together, one team, one goal, blowing away the customer, being the customer's first choice. Okay? So, yeah, you have to have a plan. Okay? Don't just show up every day and, you know, everything won't be written in stone. You won't follow the plan to the T. You don't live in perfect, but at least you will have some guidance. And as you do reviews or one-on-ones, you can always refer back to the plan. Don't ever say, oh, I can remember. You ain't gonna remember. Most days you overwhelmed with work and now Miss Bullet is all this talking or trying to get all these definitions and things in the head. You're gonna ever remember. So please document your plan. Okay? Any questions or concerns? Byron, I see you joined us. Any feedback on charismatic leaders or the traits? It says charismatic leaders have idealist goals, the ability to help others understand the goal. They have a strong conviction about their goal. There's assertive and self-confident, not aggressive. They have the parents as a change agent. Byron, are you there?
Good night. I am here. I came in on the end a little bit about finding little tiny skills like gathering lunch stuff.
Okay.
That's where I came in. I
Okay.
found it very interesting.
Okay, but what did you have the 6 traits of an effective leader?
Yes. Encouragement.
No, the drive, the desire to influence
Drive
others,
to influence
honesty.
others. Yes.
Right, yeah. Do you possess any of those traits?
I would say delegation and I'm a good example. I wouldn't ask anyone to do anything that I wouldn't do myself.
I sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I said I wouldn't ask anyone to do anything that I wouldn't do myself. I don't know if that carries over into anything that, or it translates to anybody
But
else.
that would go to your moral character.
Yeah.
What do you think about honesty? Because Lanique gave us the, you know, her take on honesty and having tough conversations. I know it's different from male to female. What's your take on honesty? Do you agree that, you know, when you tell the truth is hurt so bad, people turn a blind eye to the truth and we are straying away now from the truth? Do you agree with that?
I'm honest, but I'm honest to a point.
No, there's no point of honesty,
No,
Byron. What
no,
kind of
because I said it because I hate beating a dead horse. So if I say something to you once and I see it ain't getting over, I might mention it again, but after that,
you just give up. You just
I wouldn't say
behavior.
I wouldn't say give up. I probably would switch tactics. Like I said, I wouldn't ask anybody to do anything that I wouldn't do myself. So hopefully, I mean, you've had a conversation now. You see me carrying certain things out. Hopefully, you fall in line. But yeah.
Yeah. Did you hear our conversation about the sandwich approach? Have you ever used the sandwich approach?
No, I didn't hear that. I heard bamboo jack. I don't know.
Oh, you were talking about food. Okay. Hopefully you listen to the recording and you catch up. Okay.
I will.
Okay. Okay. Very good. Okay. So it goes on to talk about the skills of a visionary leader, the ability to create a realistic, credible, attractive vision of the future. Okay. And like I just said, the company has already established it on the company level. If in your department, you should have one at the department level. It should be mimicked from what the company's goals and visions are. You don't want to show up doing your own thing. Okay. The vision will fail if it does not offer a clear view of the future that is better for the organization. Okay. It can't be, you know, just to promote you. Just seen a dictatorship. Okay. You are there to provide good leadership to your employees. Okay. You have to have the ability to explain your vision. So don't go using words that you learn in table topics, Lanique, that you can't explain. Okay, you want it to be clear. Okay, you want to have the ability to express it and then extend it to. Do you wish to add anything to it? Okay, and with these vision, missions, and goals, there's a study out there where the study said that companies that include their staff in that vision, mission, and goal tend to be more successful, because really, who makes up the company? The staff. There's no company if there's no staff, correct? So make sure, if your company doesn't have it, copy the good pieces, make a recommendation to them that if y'all ever discuss it, we quote this vision every day, or this mission statement, or this motto, and it says nothing. Now, no part of it says anything about the staff. Make sure that you include the staff in the one that you write for your department. Okay. How do you become a leader? You need technical skills. You need the same thing we just talked about again from chapter 1. You need conceptual skills. You need networking skills. And I always tell my other classes, in Canada, I was selected to be a mentor for an employee out of Canada, because they didn't have enough execs to match up with their entry-level staff. And what their initiative was that the staff, the entry-level staff, complained so much that the same persons were getting promoted. Like, you had to be in a clique, and if you were not in that clique, you did not get promoted, and therefore they were missing out on opportunities. And so they decided to do a speed dating type of, I guess, you all know what speed dating is. You sit down with the person, you talk to them for 5 minutes, and then you decide whether or not you want that person to mentor you or not. So you would go through 5 execs, and then whichever one you match with, that exec would take you to meetings, take you to their networking events, Toastmasters, Kiwanis, and any other civic organization, or any meetings that were held, would look at your resume, update it if needed, encourage you to take upgrading classes if needed. And that would put you out there. Okay. And so networking, that's in Canada now. And I was sitting there thinking, here it is, I'm mentoring people in Canada and the Bahamas. We have the same problem. Whereas if you don't know nobody, you aren't getting promoted. If they don't know your name, nobody cares. They promote the same people, or friends, lovers, and family, all over again. And so I always tell my class, there are 1 to 10 persons in here. I know Lanique. Lanique has spoken up a lot. So has Clinton. Okay. If there was a position, all of us are qualified. The qualification for this position is complete the supervisory skills class. One of them will get this position because I know them. And it's just human, a human, that's what people do, humans do. I don't know them personally other than from class. But because I know them, when I see their resumes, I can put those ones up. I spoke to Lanique before. I spoke to Lanique. I spoke to Clinton. Okay? Networking is very important. Make sure, people, especially if you're going into politics, you need these people to vote for you. Okay, so start asking them to like your page and follow you right now, because these could be the people you need to vote. Okay, many can have one can't have many, so you need many people to follow you. Okay, then you must have human relations skills. I always say I started off my career in Finkel Robinson Road and Key West Street. And all of us should know about Key West Street and Robinson Road. It was considered the ghetto branch, right? But I moved later on to Life of Key, and everybody was like, "Oh, you're going to Life of Key." But at Finkel Robinson Road, I had family, not just co-workers. We became a family. and we work together to achieve one goal at Life a Key. No human factor at all. Okay? You have to have the ability to work and understand and motivate the people around you. You have to have the ability to effectively communicate and listen. You have to be able to coach, not boss people around. Okay? You have to be honest. You can't just, and a lot of people just say things, I won't get you out of my face. I have to say what is politically correct. I don't mean it. You'll never see me do it. Okay? And so that means our word is not our bond, and we are not honest, and people won't fool with us. Okay? And it's very, very easy to develop a bad reputation. It's very hard to get rid of it. Okay? So make sure you have the right networking skills, you have the right human relation skills, you have the right conceptual skills, and you have the right interpersonal skills. Okay? The book goes on to talk about a task-centered leader. A task-centered leader has a strong tendency to emphasize the technical or task aspect of the job. Employees view mainly as a means to an end. I don't really care about these people. I just need this deadline man. And a lot of people said that. I really don't care for Miss Bullet, but she's a deadline leader. So we could get her, right? She's reliable. Okay? Major concern is making sure that employees know precisely what is expected from them. Okay? And then there's an autocratic leader that is considered a taskmaster. Okay? Gives orders and expects results. They know human factor and they don't care about you. And failure to obey those results will result in negative reinforcements. Okay? Common in all types of organizations, including business, governments, and the military. Okay, are we familiar with, do we know any charismatic leaders? Do we know any visionary leaders? Or for the most part, we have the taskmasters, the autocratic leaders. What type are the task-centered leaders? What is our experience in our offices today? Because persons have said that we now have the coach, the trainer. We don't have the bosses so much. Robert, what is your experience? Olanique?
I was gonna say it has changed from when I first joined the bank. That was 2013. I didn't really, my managers, like I didn't really know them because they never used to really interact with you like that. I don't know if it's because I'm not a teller anymore, and so I have to interact with them more, but now it's more of a everybody lending you some type of advice or some type of coaching. You know what I mean? Like to assist you, I guess.
Okay.
But when I first joined the bank, it wasn't like that. It was like,
I'm
your boss. I tell you what to do. You don't know how to do it, go figure it out. Like, wow. That's how it was when I first joined.
Okay, thankfully we've evolved. And so you're seeing more of that human factor then, not just, I need you to do this. I really don't care about you, how you do it. Just get the deadline. Okay, very good. And please make sure that you are, are that charismatic leader, trainer, and lead the persons on the right track and know how to treat people.
Right. Okay. I think it's because the older people, like they're retiring now, or they, and so you find like in the managerial and supervisory, you have a lot of younger people now. So they more, well, I guess because everybody, they aging out or leaving, people becoming, promoted more quickly. So they was just in your shoe a couple of weeks ago, and now they in a managerial position. So I guess they feel for you more. They more compassionate with you because they was there. They didn't forget that they was there.
Okay, very good. And Another thing that I always encourage persons to do is there's a historian in your company, okay? They have a lot of knowledge, but for some reason they were left behind, okay? So always find the historian. And then there's always somebody who could get the job done for you. 10 people will tell you no. This one person will tell you yes, and they will get it done. Find who that person is. And let me just give you an experience. My secretary was being promoted to an account officer. I was very proud of her, you know. And at that time, Royal Bank was saying, "Oh, you know, we're only paying for classes where it's relevant to your position." And we wanted her to do, for the executives, of course, they paid in full, like they paid for your MBA, they paid for your trustee diploma, what have you. And so she was going to be an account officer, and we, you know, she worked in private banking. And I said, well, you know, we should pay for her to do the trust course. So her manager immediately said, well, I've just started the trust course, and I wouldn't want her to complete the course before me. And I was like, why not? You know, and I said, well, she is leaving my department, and this trust course is going to be relevant. So I'm going to approve the trust course for her to be paid in full before she gets the department. So that automatically made her angry, because she was just started the trust course. Then she said, let's talk about salary. And so, of course, Royal Bank have scales, and they have various benchmarks. And so when you get your performance appraisal at the end of the year, your benchmark should not be below 75 for you to be meeting. And so they don't always do it, but for the educated supervisors, if you give somebody an outstanding performance appraisal rating, then they should have an outstanding salary. And so Royal Bank said you must be within 75% of the range if you're meeting, and if you're outstanding, you must be in 80%. And if you're exceeding, then you must be within 90% of the range. But most supervisors don't, and that's what policy says. So when you go to HR and say, I recommend this to be the salary, they're not going to tell you, well, no, you'll say this person got outstanding and they're within 80% of the range. And so when they did her salary, they put her at 50% of the range. And I said, there's no way. She got a promotion. There's no way you could put her at 50% of the range. And so that same manager dared to pull me aside and explain to me her strategy was that when she was a manager 10 years ago at one of the Royal Bank branches, she didn't even make that amount of money. And so definitely this girl who coming from secretary to the account officer should not make that a lot. That's too much money for her to make. That was a reason.
How can it be too much?
10 years ago. 10 years ago. And this was back in 2010. So she was telling me what she made in 2000 at the turn of the century.
They don't understand
Okay.
what you could do with a salary. I mean, okay, but times change, like
inflation, inflation, the cost of living. I nearly fell out of my seat. I said, okay, that's how you decide. So somebody else in the meeting dared to tell me, say, how old is she? So I said, she's 29. They said, okay, we'll give her 29,000. I said, so now it's based on her age?
I so mad because I hear this do that.
And that's crazy.
Garbage.
If I didn't know that, I would tell them she was 45, you know. I said, listen, Royal Bank policy is clear. We are not going by an age. And we are even going by what you used to make when you was the manager at the branch 10 years ago. I say, dude, you're crazy.
But
Okay.
can I ask a question? Do you think that that is just a culture that's here, or do you think that that is happening in other RBCs around the world?
The person who asked
That's a
was an
culture here,
expat.
Benique.
That
I
person
think
was out
so
of
too.
Jersey. That was an expat who asked, but how old is she? Let's give her
Like-
29,000 because she's 29. Okay.
Wow.
Okay. Y'all please find the knowledge person with sense. There's somebody with sense, especially when it comes to money and bonuses. I've had managers send money back, you know, like how they give the government 100 and each MP they give 110 or $100,000 to upgrade your community. And people like Perry Christie, you have to use it by a certain time, but in the first 2 years, Perry Christie was the prime minister and his money got restored. They all have any foolishness like that. He's the prime minister, had done nothing, and he was in Centerville, had done nothing with the money. And the same thing with our managers. If there's a bonus, you split it down. You know, you have 10 people. Whoever get outstanding get this amount or whatever. No, they were sending the money back. Oh no, we ain't give that. That's too much.
I don't understand.
Okay, y'all please follow the policy and advocate for these people to be able to feed their children and pay their mortgages and not come to work hostile because they overworking and underpaid. Okay, get rid of all these old ideologies. Okay.
And I mean, if there's a situation where, like in my team right now, they encouraging my receptionist to now, you know, be apply for an officer position, right? And they trying to tell me now they're not going to be able to, it's going to be a lateral move because she recently became the receptionist and she trying to move to another position so they can move her pay.
What does the pay scale say? What does the pay scale say? What does the policy say?
That I Miss Ballard, our pay scale is rubbish. I don't know what that is. I would lie.
Well then
Vanika could tell you. Yeah, like it's almost like they make it physically impossible. Vanika lie. It's
you know,
like
and then they always give you the minimum of the
minimum of what your scale is.
I don't know. Oh my God.
And it's like my scale, it overlaps. So like you could be we go by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You could be a 3, but you could be a high 3, but that's a low 4. So when you go to grade 4, you making the same thing, and they can say, "Oh, but you got a grade increase." Like what? But I'm making no more money.
Right, but that don't make no sense. Okay, nobody want no grade increase. We want the money. I mean, it depends on what motivates you. If a grade increase motivates you, then that's fine. But Miss Bullet want the money.
I want the money.
So, Lani, we can talk about this till the cows come home. If you don't have a seat at the table, you don't make no decision. We are the future leaders. Okay, we are here now educating ourselves so that when we get in these positions, we can make educated decisions. So now, anonymously, try and advocate for change. You know, start to drop these things in the suggestion box. And definitely, when you get to a position where you have some say, change it, put it into policy, make it make sense. Okay?
Yeah, that's right.
Forever, I told them.
What if though? Maybe that could be the intention of a lot of management, you know. But what if when they get up there, they just want to keep it all for themselves? Like
but then that's not
they get a
Benny.
feel of the money, and it's like if I give it to them, then that's money from me.
Well, Benny, that's not ethical, and that's why we're here. In fact, I was hired to keep a bank open, right? And the bank nearly shut down. It had so many deficiencies. Central Bank told them they had to get somebody. A friend called me to assist them, a friend, okay? And I was on contract and I negotiated, like the first year we kept the bank open, we were congratulated. Then we made it attractive enough till somebody bought the bank. And then I negotiated the contract, and I knew that the contract could end at any point. I negotiated the contract to get that I should be paid a bonus, even though I was, you know what I mean, just on contract to ensure the proper handover to the buyers. Okay, so here it is, we get the buyers. I know my contract it could possibly end at any time, but I've already negotiated my bonus. Do you know they ended my contract without giving my bonus? And my dear friend who hired me to assist with keeping up the bank open got the entire bonus.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's
My
very real.
goodness.
It's
So how
very
did that
real.
end? It ended just like that?
Oh, I had to go to God, Beneath. You know, Miss Politis have to go in prayer. Miss Politis have to go
Wow.
in prayer.
I
and
blame you, Miss Bullet.
Yeah, it would have been a murder, so I guess I chose to take the high road and just leave it to God. And a year later, the whole institution closed down. She got into a lot of problems, and we were at a seminar, and she sat across from me and she said, Bullet, you were so right. I almost went to jail. I just didn't. I just said, why is this person talking to me? Why is this person gonna make me lose my job at a function? I almost jumped across the table, but I had to remember I went to God. Yeah, so Jesus, the Lord can handle it for me. That's a battle I couldn't fight. Yeah. So
Wow.
and we were friends, and that's what we were friends anyway. Yeah, so these things happen and these things will happen. You always have to take the high road, and you better have a relationship with God or you end up in jail. So please don't end up in jail. Develop your relationship now. You have to be the change that you want to see. People will take the bread out your mouth. Okay? They will come to your house every day. They will catch a ride to you to work. Okay? I always tell my classes, everybody who ever stole from the bank was my teller of the year, my friend, or I have a million stories. Okay, so only your friends can do it to you. So you have to show up every day like you work for the Lord. I said that already, right? Show up every day like you work for the Lord, and do what the people are paying you to do, and make sure at home there's paradise. You go home to paradise. So you have within control your house, and your children try to get that in order. So you can rejuvenate yourself and go back to fight the wars you fight every day.
Miss
Okay.
Bullet, I can tell you right now, if you see I finished this cross training and they try to offer me $20, I can tell them, don't worry about it. I need to be no
Prepare
supervisor.
yourself. Go in prayer right now, Lanique.
You know that's what they doing.
Lanique,
I don't need it.
You know that's
For
what they're doing.
$25,
they
you
doing.
ain't worth it.
Pardon me. I have a question for Anika and Monique.
Go ahead, go ahead.
What institution?
No,
you guys
Byron,
work
don't ask that. Talk to them offline. No, don't
No,
ask that right now.
Message me,
I know,
Byron.
I'm
Message
curious
me.
because I try to figure out how come their grade is not tied to their skill. Like, I don't know if I heard that wrong
We're
or
trying
something
to
like
figure that out too, and I've been there for 9 years.
Okay, you have to push it through policy, Lanique.
You guys,
You have to advocate that it gets in writing.
Okay, are y'all unionized?
No.
No, obviously not.
No.
Y'all read the Employment Act? I mean, I don't know. Same thing.
I know I must have
y'all.
gotta read that.
Yeah, read it, Lanique, and then push for policy, and then you would have already been knowledgeable to the Employment Act and what it should look like, and go online and see if you could get some copies of what it should state and what is fair, and then so you could make knowledgeable suggestions. In fact, the AIBT does a what should I say, an analysis of all the banks in the Bahamas and their salary scales. And they list every bank and they tell you the grade levels and what they mean. And it also says if you like have degrees, which you should be paid, or versus the years of experience. And so I don't know if AIBT only shares that with HR, but you could probably reach out to them and see if you could get a copy of that. So like I said, you could be speaking knowledgeably of what should happen. And definitely when you get in position, yeah, it's going to take some work, but if you start advocating now, when you get in position, you'll already have all the groundwork and you could just make it happen.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, because it can be difficult if you, like I said, you have to do it anonymously and send them information and say, please have you reviewed the salary analysis with AIBT? Could you share it with the staff? Could you share it with me? Do it that way first, and then try get information first. But when Royal Bank closed down, yeah, for 16 years, I think I got outstanding, and I got met like 3 years through my entire years with Royal Bank. And when the labor board came in and said that you have to pay the person, like this is your salary scale, and you said if you are outstanding, you should be within 80 to 85% of the range. And my salary was only 75% of the range. They made Royal Bank had to give me an extra $20,000 in my separation package because of my master's degree and my 16 years. Okay, so
Wow.
From that exercise, I would think that Royal Bank would have upped person's salary or placed them appropriately in the range, because you can't say if you get less than 75%, I let you go, but you're making 80% and I'm paying you. So you just have to be knowledgeable and look at the range and see where you're placed and say, but I got outstanding, I'm only 60% of the range. But you have to advocate for this. Okay, good, very good. Let's continue to read Clinton on 250, effective leadership. Is Clinton still there? Or you want me to go to Candace?
I should be trying to maneuver this one. Sorry.
Okay.
You said 250.
Yeah, you just effective leadership. We'll read about that. That's a good read. And then Candace can go on to credibility and trust really matter. And of course it does.
Okay. Effective leadership. It became increasingly clear to those studying leadership that predicting leadership success involves something more complex than isolating a few traits or preferable behaviors. The failure to find answers led to a new focus on situational reference influences. The relationship between leadership style and effectiveness suggested that under condition A, style X would be appropriate, whereas style Y would be more suitable for condition B, and style Z for condition C. But what were the conditions A, B, C, and so forth? It was one thing to say that leadership effectiveness depended on the situation, and another to be able to isolate the situational conditions. The key to many of these situational theories was their inclusion of followers. Paul Hersey and Kenneth Blanchard proposed a leadership model called situational leadership. They emphasize the leadership styles must adjust to specific situations. Given that without employees, there is no leader, situational leadership shows how you should adjust your leadership style to reflect employees' needs. Situational leadership focuses attention on the readiness of employees. Readiness is a context in this context reflects how able and willing an employee is to do a job. Hersey and Blanchard identified 4 stages of follower readiness. R1, an employee is both unable and unwilling to do a job. R2, an employee is unable to do the job but is willing to perform the necessary tasks. R3, an employee is able to do the job but is unwilling to do so. R4, an employee is both able and willing to do the job. A
Okay,
point should be
Clinton,
made.
let me just interject right there. And along with those personality checks, please look at the resumes of your department. See if your department is sufficiently balanced with education versus experience. Don't wait until audit comes in and asks for the CVs, okay? Because something is wrong in your department. And once you look at those CVs, start to have those conversations. Okay, you're only out of high school. We need people who can brainstorm and take, this department to the next level. I'm not certain you can do that with a high school education. Okay, what would you suggest? What would you recommend? These are some courses that are available. Are you interested in any? Give them the option first to see where they go to. And then after I got so much pushback, I then said, well, in order to be in this department, you have to go to school if you have high school education. Okay, but I did get in some problems for that. So you have to, like I say, hopefully your organization already has the development plan attached to the performance appraisal, and so everybody's required for a development plan. I had an MBA from 1999 who said, oh, I already have my MBA. I said, but from 1999, no, you have to do some upgrading classes. She gave me some pushback. And then I had some new mothers who said, oh, I might be out of high school, but I can't do it now. I'm recently married. So I said, okay, I give you 2 years, but I need this department to be balanced, or you're gonna have to go in another department. It's simple as that, is we keep having audit issues. Okay, so sufficient experience versus sufficient level of education. You don't need 5 CPAs. You don't need 5 lawyers. You need 1 operations person, 1 with a legal background, 1 with an operational background, and then 1 CPA. 5 of us with the same thing can't help us. Okay, so check for the balance. Okay, go ahead, Glendon.
A point should be made here concerning willingness. As defined, for example, in R1, an employee is unwilling to do something. This is not the same unwillingness that you would associate with being insubordinate. Rather, it's unwillingness because that individual is not confident or competent to do a job. A second component of the model focuses on the leader behavior. Leaders must behave in a given way, contingent on where an employee is in terms of readiness. Leader behavior is the model. In this model reflects the leader-employee communications taking place. Task behavior is viewed as a one-way communication for the leader to the employee. Relationship behavior reflects two-way communication between the leader and the employee. Given that high and low degrees of these two behaviors can exist, Percy and Blanchard identified 4 specific leadership styles based on the maturity of the follower. The telling leadership style is appropriate with a new employee. R1, uncertain about the job's responsibilities and the tasks required. Communication between you and the employee at this point needs to be one way. You need to tell her what to do and give her specific directions on how to do it. The employee will not remain at this stage for long, and after being provided with ample directions and getting more familiar with their job, she'll move to stage R2. The selling leadership style works well with an employee at the R2 stage of work development. The employee is more involved in her job, but still lacks some ability and is not fully trained. The R2 employee asks questions about things not fully understood and may question why certain things have to be done as you have asked. There may be a need to sell your ideas to get this employee to accept what you feel is necessary. High degrees of both one-way and two-way communication are happening simultaneously. The participating leadership style comes into play after the employee has become expert on her job, R3. Knowing her duties better than anybody, she's beginning to put her special mark on things. You no longer need to tell her what to do, but you still need to be involved in what she's doing. She's not to the point where you feel comfortable leaving her totally alone, and you recognize this employee still has more developing to do. This leadership style is supportive and not overly task-centered. The delegating leadership style emerges when the employee has fully developed. She has your trust and can carry out her duties with little, if any, direction. R4. She basically needs to be left alone, and you simply assign the task and let her do a job. After appraising her performance, you know she can and will get the job done. If she needs help, you're always available to deal with the exceptions. An important aspect of situational leadership is that an employee can be in all four quadrants at the same time. To lead properly, you must be able to exhibit the correct leadership style given what each employee needs. You also need to demonstrate a leadership style that's consistent with your employees' abilities.
Okay,
Read
good. Yeah, when we talked about that already, I read earlier the parts of the culture where I talked about the Seventh-day Adventists, and I also talked about the Muslim guy that had to pray. Okay, so we touched on that culture already. Can you go on, Candace Pace, with credibility and trust? Does it really matter?
Okay. The central component of credibility is honesty. Surveys shows that honesty is consistently singled out as the #1 characteristic of admired supervisors. Honesty is absolutely essential to leadership. If people are going to follow someone willingly, whether it be into battle or into the boardroom, they first want to assure themselves that the person is worthy of their trust. In addition to being honest, credible supervisors are competent and inspiring. They need to appear capable, and they can be effectively communicating confidence and enthusiasm to their employees. Employees judge their supervisors' credibility in terms of their honesty, competence, and ability to inspire. Ultimately, a supervisor's credibility separates supervisors with followers from supervisors with subordinates, and is built on the quality of relationships that exist between the supervisor and their employees. Trust, closely connected with the concept of credibility, is defined as the belief in the integrity, character, and ability of a leader. When employees trust their supervisor, they are willing to be vulnerable to their supervisor's actions because they are confident that their rights and interests won't be abused. Research has identified 5 dimensions that make up the concept of trust: integrity, honesty and truthfulness, competence, technical and interpersonal knowledge and skills, consistency, reliability, predictability, and good judgment in handling situations, loyalty, willingness to protect a person physically and emotionally, openness, willingness to share ideas and information freely. Of these 5 dimensions, integrity seems to be the most critical when someone assesses another's trustworthiness. Additionally, both integrity and competence are leadership traits consistently associated with successful supervisors.
Okay, let me get into that, Candace. And I just everybody should know about the story of Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky, right? And so for the very first time in history, and this is what the tabloid said, a man was honest, right? And that made Bill Clinton the the man of the year, just by being honest. Does anybody recall that situation? Anybody?
Yep. Yes, ma'am.
Right. And so that changed every woman's outlook on Bill Clinton. And so he was labeled as a successful leader. He got impeached. Nobody even talks about him being impeached, right? He was impeached for one day. Nobody talks about that, okay? Because he was honest, okay? So again, just an example to show the extent to which being honest, can affect your leadership style. Right now, is it Adam Levine? Adam Levine is in the newspaper every day for having many affairs. He stood up and said, "I'm sorry, I apologize. I apologize to my family." And people are like glorifying him. They're not worried anymore about him having all these affairs, but simply because he didn't drag his wife through the mud. He didn't lie about it and say I didn't do it. He was simply honest. Okay. Okay. Just want to bring that to your attention. Continue on, Candace.
Why are credibility and trust important? The top rating of honesty as an identifying characteristic of admired supervisors indicates the importance of credibility and trust to leadership effectiveness. This has probably always been true. However, recent changes in the workplace has reignited interest and concern about supervisors building trust. The trend toward empowering employees and creating self-managed work teams has reduced or removed many of the traditional control mechanisms used to monitor employees. As employees become increasingly free to schedule their own work, evaluate their own performance, and in some cases, even make their own team hiring decisions, trust becomes critical. Employees have to trust supervisors to treat them fairly, and supervisors have to trust employees to fulfill their responsibilities
Conscientiously.
conscientiously. Thank you. Supervisors must increasingly lead others who are not in their direct line of authority, members of project teams, individuals who work for suppliers, customers, and people who represent their other organizations through such arrangements as corporate partnerships. These situations don't allow supervisors to fall back on their formal positions to exact compliance. Many of the relationships, in fact, are dynamic. The ability to develop trust quickly may be crucial to the success of such relationships. Now more than ever, supervisory leadership effectiveness depends on the ability to gain the trust of followers. Downsizing, corporate financial misrepresentations, and the increased use of temporary employees have undermined employees' trust in their leaders and shaken the confidence of investors, suppliers, and customers. A survey found that only 39% of US employees and 51% of Canadian employees trusted their executive leaders. Today's supervisors have the challenge of rebuilding and restoring trust with their employees.
Okay, and I wonder how many Bahamian, y'all think our lower or higher than the US? Which y'all think in the Bahamas? Our one is lower in terms of trust. And we gotta be the future leaders to turn that around, okay? And another important thing is openness. A lot of people do not share their information for fear that they will lose their jobs. And for a very long time in Royal Bank, the story started off where a secretary became the head over many execs. To start off the secretary, she became the head because the execs taught her, and she was very aggressive to learn, and she cross-trained and everything, and she became their boss, and people laughed at them and say, but she basically take your job. And so for years after that, every time there was a promotion, the person who was least qualified and a complete idiot would get the position. Okay, and to me, I said, it's no way this one person keep getting. This person is very uneducated and they don't even have common sense. And this person then get promoted like 10 times. Like, what's going on? And when we looked, people sat down and said, well, again, this is why you speak to the historian. If you've been here long enough, you would have seen that this one person was trained and learned all the ropes from all the execs and became their boss. And so now they're ensuring that that never happens again. And so now, as job security, these execs, they hire somebody who is unqualified so that you will always need them, so that you don't force them into retirement, so that they don't lose their jobs. Okay. I also read a newspaper clipping, and you should be able to find it online. The first part of it talks about, because Ms. Bullitt worked at McDonald's, it says that many CEOs would have come out of McDonald's, and the survey determines that McDonald's is a good training brand. I used to work at McDonald's, so I was proud. But then it further went on to say that when you get to the top, when you get to the executive level, you may last 2 or 3 years. Okay. And it's not because of you were uneducated and you become fully yourself, so you stop learning. It's because your parents feel like they should have that position, and they just simply do not support you, and so they do all sorts of stuff too. They don't support you. Every idea that you come up with, whether it's good or not, they tear it down. And so you'll look for that article. I look for it also because I think it's a good read. The various reasons that happen why you don't maintain that position for a very long time. And so people are just not open. People don't have the willingness to share their ideas, to lead you to the policy, to say, hey, this is an easier way of doing it, and fair for job security, and fair that, you can make them relevant, and a lot of people don't have a backup plan after they retire. They need this job because their mortgage ain't gonna end, and then they almost to retirement age. So you have people in the workforce till 70, and they get to now talk, but they get increased national insurance age to 69 or some foolishness like that, and they're already in no jobs. So there are various reasons. So, you just have to be educated enough to protect yourself, but don't cross the line into becoming evil, or uh, compromising yourself and having a lack of integrity. Okay. So train these people up, and share your knowledge and share your ideas, and I always say have 5 revenue streams. And so when the business is outside of your appetite, you could leave. When they try and push you out and you feel like you lose your head, so you need to go home, have those revenue streams from now. And so in a few years they'll be established, whether it's a car wash or you bake cakes or whatever it is. Have at least 5. So this 9 to 5 isn't the be all of your life, and that you have to keep this job, so you end up compromising yourself. Okay. Let's go on to playing the favorites. Go on, Candace.
What if you play favorites? You would think that one way to undermine employees' trust in you would be for you to be seen as someone who plays favorites. In many cases, you would be right, but many supervisors, it appears, play favorites. That is, they do not treat all their employees in the same manner. You're likely to have favorite employees who make up your in-group. You will have a special relationship with this small group. You will trust them, give them a lot of your attention, and often give them special privileges. Not surprisingly, they'll perceive themselves as having preferred status. Be aware that this creation of a favorite in-group can undermine your credibility, especially among employees outside this in-group. Be cautious of this tendency to create favorites in your department. You're human, so you'll naturally find some employees you feel closer to and with whom you will want to be more open. What you need to think through is whether you want this favoritism to show. When this favorite employee status is granted to someone based on non-performance criteria, for example, because you share similar interests or common personality traits, it is likely to lessen your leadership effectiveness. However, it may have a place when you favor employees who are high performers. In such cases, you are rewarding a behavior that you want to reinforce. Be careful when you follow this practice. Unless performance measures are objective and widely visible, you may be seen as arbitrary and unfair. Continue?
No, stop right there. So do we have those persons in our institution who seem unfair? Who and Ms. Bullet at them too? It was nothing you could Lanique, what I take the time to get to know you, and I don't know I in your clip. That's it. I show up, I do my work, and I go home. Okay, so please, like I said, very easy to develop a bad reputation. Very hard. Miss Bullet ain't never looking back at you. Okay, she'd be in Royal Bank for 40 years, and that's it. That's it. That woman who talked about the salary when I was 10 years ago, and it should be this, never again would I talk to her about a salary, ever. Okay, anybody else? Come, you all have to talk back to me now.
Yes.
Person's talking.
Hello.
Hi.
Yolanda here.
Hey, Yolanda.
I can relate I could actually tell you a scenario that's happening to me where I was a favorite. Let's say after Dorian, I was a favorite and I kissed up. I played the part because I was the only staff member. Now that we have a full branch, the favorite came back who was there before, and I could actually see the difference in how management treats me. You know, when you're the only person and they need you, I was the favorite, but now I'm not the favorite. And I realized that it's okay to not fit in. I got tired pretending, when you kiss it up, that's a lot of energy. And you have to do so much things just to stay on top. So I started to go on the side and watch the behaviors of the favorite and the supervisor and the manager and what they do to make this person out to be so good at what they're doing. Really and truly, they're not doing what people perceive them to be. They're not. Because I work in sales, to make the long story short. So their target, they're not making their target because I give them their referrals so that they can meet the target. So I'm sitting back and I'm like, okay, wow. So then you have to sit back and watch how this person is being idolized. And the manager knows that person isn't actually doing the work. But because they show that favoritism, and what I'm guilty of it now, I'm similar to you, my attitude has changed towards the supervisor where I separated myself because I feel as if in terms of development wise, I'm also the historian in the branch. I've been with the bank over 10 years and at least over 15 years. So I could tell you from Finco days when we did things manually to now having to do things digitally, and from those managers, I have an idea of even the secretary you spoke about. I'm a historian. So
Okay, yeah, Miss Bullock, stop talking before I
Yeah.
interrupt you. And
yeah,
face
so
it,
I
yes.
said to say I'm sitting back and I'm realizing I know when I wasn't moving up in the company because I didn't want to be a part of the cliques. So I couldn't move up. I didn't dress like the ones and see the persons in the cliques. And it's okay to dress okay. Everybody like to look good, but the people in the clique, they tend to dress up. They're the pretty ones, but to me, they tend to be dumb. They don't want to do the extra work. They won't lift a box if a box needs to be moved with paper. Those are the ones who I consider, those are the ones who tend to move up because
Right.
they'll tell you, oh, I speak my mind. I'm not doing that. They're not paying me for that. But I would be the one who would probably pick up the broom, or if there's paper by the ATM room in the morning times before the branch is open, I'll go and pick it up. I'll be that person. But then I realized that at the end of the day, it's either two things. I know what it is to be an irate employee. I had rights for them not moving me up. I could take accountability for me and my development. And I had to learn balance because it's either you become an irate employee and don't move, and people will be like, oh, she just miserable. I played that part before. Then I played the part of the sucking up the favoritism, and I started to move a little, but then that's tiring. So then I had to learn what the balance is. Then I had to understand what my supervisor is and what her needs are and what my needs are, and how to get what I need from her and not get offended and not hold anything against her. Because this book is actually, I said tomorrow I'm going to give her this book so she can read it. She needs some coaching on this. But
Okay.
yeah, I
And
said that to
yes-
say, go ahead.
No, go ahead, finish. Mhm.
No, I said to say that a lot of people, it's cultural. I wouldn't even say it's based on one organization. It's just cultural. And we touched it, at least I came on the call late, but they touched it. You have old leadership, and with the new that's coming in now, it's hard for them to adapt
It is.
because it's hard for them to adapt, and they don't want to adapt. I could tell you different changes RBC has done in the organization, and the plan is if we do what we're supposed to do, is awesome. Everybody would benefit, but because of these persons with these old mentalities, we'll never progress.
Yes, they clogging up the system.
They're clogging it up, and then they look at you and say, oh, you're failing, but they keep forgetting. Like I had to tell one manager before, because RBC has so much things in place now. You shouldn't even talk with your employees. You can't even with your favorites. One of the favorites came back to me and told me what she said. So I had to let her know that I know what you said. And this will be my first warning to you, because I will report you, because this could affect.
They consider that harassment.
It is harassment. And even though the person, the favorite, came to me as a friend, I was offended because no one's supposed to know whatever your weaknesses are. And then, like I always tell them in the branch, if you see someone who's failing, rather than creating cliques, why don't we come up with a strategy? They don't realize that you're stronger as a team. Everybody wants to be the number one. Everybody, in RBC, everybody want to win the cruise. But I tell them at the end of the day,
Yolanda, let me tell you something. Everybody who has won that cruise, the next year they are fired. I can promise you. They look at their history.
yeah,
Back to back. You win the cruise because you compromise
What
yourself
cruise?
to win it. Royal Bank offers you a cruise for the top sales position and top support position annually. So each Christmas, when we get our bonuses, they have a Christmas party and they announce the cruise winners. And like I told you, 1 year, 134 persons got let go from Royal Bank because they did not meet their sales targets. And what they did is they went right across the road to their cousin and hired a bunch of people who had compromised, who were the top sales people over there. And one time I audited one of them. And what we found out is that if you went into them and you just say, I want to increase my credit card limit, they never increase your credit card limit because they didn't get any points for that. So they gave you a brand new credit card with a whole new limit. Along with that credit card, you would get a line of credit, a consumer loan, insurance, or every service possible. So you would walk out that bank with 10 services when you only ask for a credit card increase. And so we were sitting down to their meeting, their Christmas meeting, and they said, the person who is one salesperson for the year is straight out of Freeport. And we were sitting in the Atlantis, the entire audience gasped. Out of Freeport in Nassau, I couldn't even meet that target. How possible? Okay. And when we did a check, we saw that they were manipulating the system. They were giving customers products and services that they didn't ask for. And before the first payment came through, they would close them out. So their sales person who was ever counting the points and the amount of sales that they generated, it looked like you did a lot of sales, but in essence, you didn't. Okay, so when we checked, every single product was closed out. And so that they just inflated their sales, and that's how they won. Okay, and Royal Bank let 134 people go. Do you see them? Then they going out scouting. We want the top sales people, not knowing that these people manipulated the system to become the top sales. So I don't know where they is now. I know what happening, but I know it sure ain't end well if they still working. Okay, so Yolanda, we are all guilty of being the favorite, sucking up, being in the cliff, talking and making people feel, unwanted at work. And so this is why we're here. So thank you very much for being honest, because, a lot of us will yes, it is, say, well, it ain't me. At the end, and I always ask my class, are you the toxic person at work? Are you the one who always in the back talking with people, and making them uncomfortable? Are you the one who always kissing up? Okay, we've all done it. So I'm here now to say, stop it. And that's why we're here to train. Okay, people are leaving from work suicidal because of the way some of us treated them. Stop it. We want that human factor, just how you expect to be treated. Treat people. Okay, there's something called colleague care. If you take customer service, we talk about it extensively. Google it, practice it when you go to work. Get out of these vicious cliques, because I always start by saying corporate Bahamas is very vicious. We are corporate Bahamas. We make it up. So we are the vicious ones. Okay? Now, let's get back to the book. No more preaching from Miss Bullet. Let's get back to the book. Okay? Candace and Miss Bullet can tell you all now, this is a discussion-based class, and you're all too quiet. So please, next week, you'll make Miss Bullet happy. Whatever, we should be comfortable with each other now. And I thank you to the people who have stood up and spoke and helped the class to keep going. So I applaud you and keep speaking up, please. But I need all of you. I need to make sure that I know all of you. Okay, so no more these. It's good that we are identifying it, because a lot of people say, Miss Bullet, I didn't even know it was me. I didn't even know that this person almost suicidal because of me. I didn't know that it was me that made this person's life hell. Okay, destroying their family, because every night they have to go home and talk about what happened in Royal Bank, what happened in Commonwealth Bank, what happened in Scotia. Your family does not want to know. They don't want to hear the Dome and Gloom story every night. Okay, so please. All right, so Candace, continue on. Why should supervisors engage their employees?
Okay. Gallup's State of the Global Workplace report reveals only 13% of employees worldwide are engaged at work. New Zealand has one of the highest levels of engaged employees among the countries surveyed at 23%. Australians' engagement rate is similar at 24%. Both countries fall short of the United States, where 30% of employees are engaged at work. Why do supervisors need to engage their employees? Engaged employees are passionate about their job, put forth the extra effort, and are connected to the organization. Engaged employees are innovators with drive and the ambition to propel the organization forward. Conversely, unengaged employees have left the building and are merely going through the motions at work. They no longer have passion or energy for their work. Finally,
Most of us, right?
right.
Most of us.
Finally, disengaged employees are busy acting out their unhappiness, wasting time while undermining the efforts of engaged workers, co-workers. Wow. There are 5 strategies organizations can use to help build their constituency of engaged employees. First, use employee surveys to collect data that are specific, relevant, and actionable for any team at any organizational level. Then use the data to impact organizational performance metrics. Second, organizations should encourage supervisors and their employees to participate in engagement initiatives by including them as performance expectations, help them identify barriers to engagement as well as opportunities to effect positive change. Third, select supervisors based on their willingness to empower their employees, recognize their contributions, and seek their input. Selecting supervisors with these qualities increase the odds for employee engagement. Fourth, provide coaching for supervisors so they can take an active role in working with employees to develop personal engagement plans. Encourage supervisors to maintain an ongoing focus on engagement. Finally, encourage supervisors to combine engagement goals with regular meetings, planning sessions, and individual face-to-face employee interactions. Continuous reinforcement will build commitment to engagement practices. Supervisors are in a position to communicate and share employee engagement best practices through the organization. Converting unengaged employees into engaged workers is one of the most cost-effective strategies a company can implement to increase performance of the workplace.
Okay, so let me just interject, and I said this before, the only way, and I'm sorry to always go back to the Bible if, if it being a believer offends you, but in all my years, the only thing that can keep you encouraged, because you're working with human beings, and the Bible says that the heart is wickedly deceitful. So your heart deceitful, my heart deceitful, and every day the devil is very busy, and a lot of people don't fight the devil. They just allow the devil to use them. And the only way for you not to be, for you to be disengaged or want to participate and be motivated, you show up like you work for the Lord. That's the only thing that has worked for Miss Bullet over the years. Show up every day like you work for the Lord and encourage your staff that are believers. That's the only way. As things do indeed go wrong, companies are indeed unfair. Life ain't fair. Okay, but it's definitely achievable, and I promise you, if you change your mindset, like I say, back to the colloquialism, be the change that you want to see. Look at things differently. The glass is full. The glass is half empty. The glass half full. These are the way you control your thoughts, and then you will be happier at work. Because everywhere you go, a devil waiting on you. Okay, you have to change yourself. All right. Continue on, Candace.
We finished this chapter by looking at 2 current debates surrounding leadership, the movement from transactional to transformational leadership and team leadership. This section ends with a discussion on leadership relevance. What are transactional and transactional leaderships? It is important to differentiate between transactional leaderships and transformational leaderships. As you will see, because transformational leaderships are also charismatic, there is some overlap between this topic and the preceding discussions on charismatic traits. Most leadership models address transactional leaders. These leaders guide or motivate their employees in the direction of established goals by clarifying role and task requirements. Another type of leader inspires followers to transcend their own self-interest for the good of the organization. These leaders are capable of having a profound and extraordinary effect on their followers. These are called transformational leaders. They pay attention to the concerns and developmental needs of employees. They change employees' awareness of issues by helping them look at old problems in new ways. And they excite, arouse, and inspire followers to put out extra effort to achieve group goals. Transactional and transformational supervision should not be viewed as opposing approaches to getting things done. Transformational supervision is built on top of transactional supervision. Transformational supervision produces levels of employee effort and performance that go beyond what would occur with a transactional approach alone. Moreover, transformational supervision is more than charisma. The purely charismatic leader may want employees to adopt the charismatic's worldview and go no further. The transformational supervisor will attempt to instill in employees the ability to question not only established views, but eventually those established by the leader. The evidence supporting the superiority of transformational supervision over the transactional variety is overwhelmingly impressive. In summary, it indicates that transformational supervision leads to lower turnover rates, higher productivity, and higher employee satisfaction.
Right, and all of those should be our goals. When we write this mission statement for our department, we should say this would be aimed to achieve lower turnover. Okay, we can't have all new entry-level persons in this department. And if we do, when I train you all, you know, I can increase your pay to make you all stay. Okay, I all about upward mobility. Okay, higher productivity and higher employee satisfaction. If my employees happy, the customers could be happy. The work you find that they push and they drive to get the work done. Okay, so we are going to end there for the read. Like I said, the book is a very good read, and it's not often that we find a very good book. Turn please to page 261, where I said earlier to go online and do the self-assessments and find out what your leadership style is, and if you are willing to delegate. And then of course we are mentoring, and we're starting to think about who we are going to mentor for the 6 weeks. And so you want to practice certain skills. You want to be open, you want to be fair, you want to speak your feelings, you want to tell the truth, you want to be consistent, you want to fulfill your promise, you want to maintain confidences, you want to demonstrate confidence. Okay, and so start to practice those things. Some of us, especially as women, people tell us something in confidence, we are mouth so itchy, we have to go and tell somebody, stop it. Practice keeping things confidential and respecting people's privacies. Okay, so practice. And like I always say, when we was 14 and 15, we didn't know how to drive cars. We practiced. And then now we are in our 20s, 30s, we are expert drivers. So whatever you practice, you become expert at. Okay, practice controlling your thoughts. Okay, there's a guy out there, Bruce Lipton, who says 98% of our thoughts are, or was it Les Brown? Yeah, Les Brown says 98% of our thoughts are negatives. Okay, so fight those negative thoughts, and like I say, train your staff also, and put some structure in place, and you will see that as you go to work, you know, some of the pressure will be eased off of you. You set goals, you write that vision, you will see that all of that will make, you know, be beneficial to you. Okay, so I am now gonna ask what your takeaway now from chapter 9 is. So everybody just give me a little bit of insight, make a comment, let me know that you're there. Give me your thoughts on leadership. Of course, we know I sent homework out to everybody. Please make sure that you get the homework. It's due next week. And again, it's just a practice of the definitions to make sure that we are all on the same page. It is going to be graded as a part of your 20%. And then this chapter should help you with your leadership paper that's due on October the 11th. And so there's about 2 weeks left. Don't let the time sneak up on you. It's a holiday. Don't ruin your holiday. So make sure, plan some time to get that done. Okay, so we'll start with Yolanda. What is your takeaway from chapter 9?
My takeaway is to basically, like you said, go to work as if, go to work with the Lord being, even though that's not in the book, but basically,
Miss Bullet, that from Miss Bullet.
yeah, I get that from the book, but ensuring that whatever you do want others to want, you would want whatever you would, how you would want persons to treat you, even in a supervisory position. Practice that same at least offer that same the word is right there.
Compassion or trait.
Compassion, yeah. Compassion
Yeah.
towards others, because at the end of the day, your ultimate goal is for the organization to succeed, and the organization would not succeed if the staff isn't happy. So you would want to do unto others and then take coaching, and don't put ourselves first. Look at how everything affects each other.
Correct. Beneath, thank you, Yolanda.
You say me or Vanique?
I said Beneath, but you could go ahead. She might have stepped out.
Okay. I took away from the book when they talks about the charismatic leader, being enthusiastic and a self-confident leader. And I took that away because sometimes I feel I've seen where if I'm having a good day and I decide to be charismatic and enthusiastic, my team feeds off of that. So I have to remember to put my own personal stuff aside and remember that they're looking at me. So it's best for me to be positive and enthusiastic so it can rub off on them in some way.
Correct. If I guess they like, our little babies is watch you. And I always say it's very important what you do, because we have some babies singing, never would have made it. The other baby is twerking, right?
Right.
So it's just what they are exposed to. So perhaps when you wake up in the morning, have some affirmations, do some inspiration, something to get you going, because not every morning you will feel it, but try to boost yourself, whatever makes you feel good. Do that, and so hopefully it'll rub off on them. No
Yes,
twerkers out of you, Nate. No twerking coming out of your department.
No. I gotta start the day with the Lord. I tell
Yeah,
them
never would have made it right.
they always say you ain't do no devotions this morning.
Right. So make sure you don't miss your devotion. So you are consistent. Okay, so very good. Thank you for that. Byron.
What I got was everything that the lady said just now, but what stood out to me, probably because I just came into the class and that was the first thing, but it stood out to me that everyone has their strengths. What I put with me,
Even if it's just going to bamboo shack.
Bamboo shot, which is important because everybody got to eat.
Yep. So change the focus and let's stop being mad at that person. Let's stop saying that you're the weakest link. Be happy that we are not the weakest link, and be happy that that person have the tolerance of bamboo shack life, because we don't, right? So just always be thankful and grateful. Okay, very, very good. Candace?
The thing that stood out to me the most that I really like was when the book spoke about transformational leaders. And I'm going to read it again. It said that they pay attention to the concerns and developmental needs of employees. They change employees' awareness of issues by helping them look at old problems in new ways. They excite and arouse, and they inspire followers to put an extra effort to achieve group goals. And I really like that because my manager, she is exactly like that in regards to our branch. And from transitioning from the branch in Nassau, where the manager is like just bossing you around and making you do things and not catering to your growth, and then coming to this branch now here in Abaco is like totally different. So that's one of the things that I like and aspire to be.
Okay, very, very good, Candace. And I'm glad that you want those same traits. And it's good that you have somebody that you can mimic, that you watch every day, and you see them display that those traits. And saying that you came from Abaco, trauma sometimes really brings out the best in you. So it is good that she is a transformational leader. Very, very good.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Clinton.
My takeaway is really the effective leadership and the different styles of leadership, as well as classifying your employees based on their level of training and their level of understanding and competency.
Right. Very good. Again, no, not just because you've been here the longest. And then I had this woman who was a choir director at the church, and three of them did work there, and every time it was a position, but this one been here the longest. They said, all them in your church choir, no way. None of them. They don't know how to deal with people. They always turn their nose up at everybody. They don't act Christ like. They can't deal with people. So yeah. Okay, very good. Robert Martin. Robert, I don't even know you. Robert, can you introduce yourself?
You say you don't know me? Wow.
Oh yeah, this Robert. Okay, sorry, Martin. Throw me off. Okay, yeah, Mr. Scotiabank. I sorry, Robert. I know you, but you was very quiet. You got to get to know Miss Bull a little better.
Yeah, my apologies.
Yeah.
I would say my takeaway is just knowing that everyone in the institution can be a bit different. And then with the honesty portion also, that was a huge takeaway for me, being able to display that honesty to, I would say, your staff members, being able to tell them the honesty, and then using the sandwich method. That's a really good method to take away from also. Being able to give them a compliment at first, and then giving them that news that they need to strengthen their weakness, and give them a solution on how could you assist them with strengthening that weakness also. And then I also took away from um, being the favorite also, that portion there, that I would say that's something that I would like to look into also, because sometimes you could look at the favorite and I guess you could be a bit envious towards them, but then really and truly you just need to be the best you.
Correct. And maintain your credibility, because you don't want to, like I say, pick up a negative reputation. It's very hard to get rid of it. And like you say, there going to be days when you have to have those tough conversations. You want there to tear the person down. You want there saying, I am going to destroy Lanique today. You honestly just want to convey a message. So try to be as compassionate as possible with the hard conversations.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. Very good. And I don't know if Vanique came back. Is Vanique back as yet?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so share with us your takeaway, please.
Okay, so my takeaway from this chapter would be the question that asks, are leaders born or made? And I believe that this is something that's very important for all of us to know, that any one of us can be a leader with the right backing, with the right support, taking on extra classes or whatever it may be. And also credibility and trust. That is my other takeaway. I love that, because no one wants to work under or work with somebody that they can't trust, somebody who is not honest, or somebody who proves not to be credible. So I really love those two parts of this chapter.
Okay, good. Very good. Yes, it is. It is important to be honest. And like I said, the truth hurts. So be compassionate with your truth. And like I said, we saw from Bill Clinton, he gained a whole lot of respect from being honest. Okay, so and like you said, whatever you wish to be, all of us, and that's why we are here. Okay, we are all future leaders. Whatever our desires are, we write the vision. Though it may tarry, it will come to pass. Okay, write it down. You want to be the next prime minister? There's nothing stopping you from doing that. Okay, build your network. get with like-minded people. And I always say the people that you hang out on the weekend with, there are 4 weekends, 3 weekends, you party out. 1 weekend, let's brainstorm. Let's invest. Let's see how we can make money. Let's see how we can help each other. Let's see how we can help our country. Let's see how we can get a seat at the table and become global. Okay? So you can definitely do it. Okay, so very, very good dialogue, and thank you all for participating and sharing your thoughts. Next week, we'll discuss, I think it's 3 and 12. Let me just look at the agenda. Yeah, next week we'll go on to 3 and 12. Remember, please to submit your homework just to make sure that you have the definitions down pat. And have a fabulous week, guys. And we'll do this again next week. So let me know if you have questions or concerns.
Ms.
Sorry?
Pilar, before you leave today, I actually would have gone to Biff's. That was yesterday, and I got the textbook.
Okay.
I actually got the 6th edition. Would that be an issue? Because I see you guys also were reading from the textbook. I'm not sure if the information would have been a bit different from the 6th edition prior to the new edition you guys have.
Okay, so the Miss Bullet, all of Miss Bullet's notes in the 6th edition, and they just sent me this 8th edition. So does everybody have the 8th edition?
No, I have the 6th.
No, I want to know if anybody else have the 6th edition.
Oh, I'm not sure. I know when I would have went there, she indicated that the lady indicated that you said it was okay to get the
Yeah,
edition.
it is okay because it's just minor changes. I don't see no big difference. I didn't have to make new notes. All of my notes still stand. Yeah, so it's the same. 1 or 2 works. And I could always send you it if it's if you missing something, but it's fine. It's still just as good as a book.
Okay, I mean, how you guys reading from the textbook? I'm not sure.
Yeah, they didn't change. A lot of stuff haven't changed. Yeah, the text is almost the same. Were you weren't able to follow?
Yeah, I was able to follow.
Yeah. So the text again, little, like I said, they have little minor changes where they try to, instead of they talked about Condoleezza Rice before rather than talking about Mark Zuckerberg. They just tried to make it a little bit more current, but no major changes. So you should be fine. If you have any difficulties, let me know.
Alrighty, that's right. No problem.
Okay, great.
Miss Bullard.
Go ahead.
The homework that you're talking, when you sent this homework?
This afternoon, about 5 minutes before class. So just check your email and let me know if you received it. And if not, I can just forward it on to you.
Okay, I'm checking my work email. I don't see it. Maybe I need to give you my personal email.
Okay, let me see who I would send it to. This Candace, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Candace. Yeah, Candace.scott at fidelity.bahamas.com. It went through.
Yeah, I checked it just now. I don't see it.
Okay, so give me another email. I'll forward it to them.
Okay.
Miss Bullard.
Yeah.
Could you for the assignment we're due on on the 11th, could you tell me what it is you assigned me to again, please?
On October the 11th?
The one from the speech.
She mean to ask, yeah, the speech.
Oh, okay. So look at the let me put it up on the board.
That isn't due next week?
No, it's due on the 11th.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, can you see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we would have read the commencement speech and each person would have gotten a question. And you are to write 2 300 to 500 word essays discussing the requirements to become a future leader. And I have answering one of the questions below, but each person got their own question. Do you recall that conversation? We did
I
that in
remember.
class 1. Yeah. So
I
that's the one.
remember.
And see, it's due by Tuesday, October 11th to my email. And then you turn on your camera on Wednesday, October the 12th, and you present your essay to the class. Okay, and somebody will critique you and ask you questions.
Okay, so what one you tell me do again? I just want to confirm. So I have the number 9.
What do you mean?
And
Or
you
high
gave
energy,
us,
good looking people with good hygiene and a positive attitude make more money. Yeah, and why? Yeah,
okay.
that's right.
Okay. Hi, Miss Bullet, Yolanda. Yeah, I wasn't assigned any of the assignments because I just joined your class last week.
Okay,
don't-
so
yeah.
did you listen to class 1?
No, so I need to go and
Okay,
listen.
so get the recording from Miguel, listen to class 1, and then come and tell me what your takeaway from the speeches, and also read the speech. The speech is attached, and then come and tell me next week. I think you and Byron as well. Byron, were you in class 1?
No, ma'am, I was not.
Okay, so you
But
need
I
to
did.
do it.
I was looking on YouTube just now. I think I saw 2 previous classes.
Okay, yeah. So
Recorded.
listen to class 1, please, and then read the speech. And the speech is also attached in the email. What just happened? Okay, I think. Let me pull up the speech. Yeah. So this speech would have been, did you get the welcome message, Byron? Byron?
Yes, I did.
You did? Okay, so this speech is attached. Both you and Yolanda would need to read this, listen to class 1, and then come next week and let me know what you want to do your essay on.
Okay, I didn't get the welcome.
Yolanda, you didn't get
Yes.
it?
No, ma'am.
Okay, give me your email, please. Put it in the chat for me.
Okay.
Okay, and so please, there's also an agenda. Please look at the agenda and make sure you get all the information. Look at the attachments in the welcome note and ensure that you're up to date, please. Byron, you said you got the homework?
I'm looking for the email right now. I do remember getting an
Are you
email from
B
Miguel.
Ferguson?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Okay, okay. So you got the homework. Okay, Candace, I just sent the homework. Let me know if you received that. And then Yolanda, let me make sure you receive the welcome note.
Yes, I got it. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, Yolanda, I just sent it. Please confirm you received. And you have 3 attachments in there.
I received it and the 3 attachments. Thank you.
Okay, great, great. Any other questions or concerns? Okay, guys, so you all have a fabulous week. Please go out and apply some of the traits we discussed. You know, go back to work and, you know, low wage colleague care. Show them good colleague care, treat people right, and treat yourself good. Okay. So have a good weekend. We'll do this again next week. We'll see you next week with chapters 3 and 12. Now I need volunteers for chapters 3 and 12. we've already had Clinton, Vanique, and who else did we have? And Candace. Yeah. So can we have one person for chapter 3 and one for 12 for next week?
I'll do 3.
Okay, thank you.
I'll do 12.
Okay, great. So Lanique and Yolanda, so please peruse it. So you can give us an overview and then you will do the reading from the chapter. Hopefully we don't have to read so much, we can have more discussions. And I know it takes a while to catch up, but by next week, hopefully everybody will be settled, okay? Okay, guys, so have a good one. I'll see you next week.
Good night.
Okay,
Good night.
Okay.
All right, can I?